Sirens scream through the night in Tel Aviv. Families rush for shelter, clutching children and, praying for the worst to pass. In Tehran, people stare at their phones as news breaks of explosions near a major military base. Warplanes roar overhead. There is tension in the air as everyone wonders, will this be the night that changes everything? The world watches live images. A missile strikes near a busy street. Ambulances race to help the injured. On social media, videos show both fear and defiance. The hashtag #AnsPrayForPeace trends worldwide. Each side blames the other for starting the newest round of violence. The conflict between the United States, Israel, and Iran has become more dangerous than ever. What started as secret attacks and harsh words has now turned into open fighting. People everywhere are nervous. They ask, why are these countries always on the edge of war? This essay will explain how decades of rivalry, history, and new alliances have brought us to this point. We'll look at the reasons behind the fighting, the fears about nuclear weapons, and how ordinary people are paying the price. The tensions between these three countries did not begin overnight. For years, the United States and Israel have battled Iran in secret. They use spies, cyber attacks, and proxy groups to hurt each other without open war. These are called shadow wars. But in recent years, these secret fights have become more public and, honestly, more violent. One example is the mysterious explosions at Iranian nuclear sites. Many experts believe these were caused by Israeli agents. Iran has also fought back. It supports groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and militia forces in Iraq and Syria. These groups attack US and Israeli interests across the region. Sometimes tankers are hit in the Persian Gulf, causing oil prices to rise. The United States uses economic tools as weapons. It has placed harsh sanctions on Iran's banks, oil industry, and leaders. These punishments are meant to stop Iran from building nuclear weapons and supporting militias. But sanctions also hurt ordinary people, making it hard to buy medicine or find work. Today, the shadow war is turning into real war. Each act of sabotage or drone strike risks a bigger conflict. Many fear that a small mistake could start a war that draws in the whole region. To understand the crisis, it helps to know what each country wants. The United States sees Iran as a threat to its allies and to the stability of the Middle East. Since 1979, Iran's leaders have called America the Great Satan. The US worries about Iran's support for armed groups and its nuclear program. Israel's leaders say Iran is their biggest enemy. Iran's government often says Israel should not exist. Israeli officials are afraid that if Iran builds a nuclear bomb, it could be used against them. Israel also worries about Iranian-backed fighters in Syria and Lebanon who could attack at any time. Iran, meanwhile, feels surrounded. US troops are in Iraq, Afghanistan, and the Persian Gulf. American warships patrol near Iran's coast. Iran's leaders say they are defending themselves. They accuse the US and Israel of trying to destroy their country and control the Middle East. All three countries use harsh words and military threats. None of them want to look weak. This cycle of fear and anger makes it hard to find peace. Each new attack or threat pushes them closer to war. Relations between Iran and the United States changed forever in 1979. That year, Iran's people overthrew the Shah, who was a close friend of America. The new leaders made Iran an Islamic republic. They rejected Western culture and power. Soon after, students stormed the US embassy in Tehran and took 52 Americans hostage for more than a year. This event honestly shocked the world. It made Americans see Iran as a dangerous enemy. The US cut off relations and began to support Iran's rivals, including Iraq during the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s. Meanwhile, Israel also became a target for Iran's anger. Iran started to support groups fighting against Israel in Lebanon and elsewhere. Since then, there has been very little trust. Every US president since 1979 has struggled to deal with Iran. Some tried to make peace, but most chose pressure and punishment. Israel has always pushed the US to take a hard line against Iran. The history of the revolution still shapes today's politics. Old wounds have not healed. Each side remembers past betrayals and violence. This makes it very difficult to solve new problems peacefully. Economic pressure is one of the main weapons used by the US and Israel against Iran. Sanctions block Iran from selling oil and buying important goods. They freeze Iran's money in banks around the world. The goal is to force Iran to change its behavior. But, the results are mixed. For Iran's government, sanctions are a challenge. They have made deals with smugglers to get around the rules. Some leaders have become rich by controlling secret trade networks, but for ordinary people, life is much harder. Prices for food and medicine have soared. Many people have lost jobs, and factories have closed. Sanctions have also caused anger and protests inside Iran. Young people are frustrated. They want jobs and freedom, but they feel trapped by both their government and outside pressure. In recent years, there have been large protests in cities across Iran. The government often responds with violence and arrests. Some people blame their own leaders for corruption and bad policies. Others blame the US and Israel for making their lives worse. The truth is, everyone suffers in an economic war. The pressure continues to build, making the situation even more dangerous. One of the biggest fears in this conflict is Iran's nuclear program. For years, Iran has built secret sites to enrich uranium. It says its program is for peaceful energy, but many countries, especially Israel, worry that Iran wants to build a nuclear bomb. In 2015, Iran agreed to limit its nuclear work in exchange for relief from sanctions. This deal, called the JCPOA, was supported by the US, Europe, Russia, and China. But in 2018, President Trump pulled America out of the agreement. He said it was too weak. Iran then began to expand its nuclear activities again. Now, experts say Iran is closer than ever to having enough material for a bomb. Israel has warned that it will not allow Iran to become a nuclear power. It has carried out attacks inside Iran to slow the program. The US has sent more troops and ships to the region. The fear is that a misunderstanding or sudden attack could start a wider war. Nobody wants Iran to have nuclear weapons, but stopping it is very hard. The nuclear issue is at the heart of why the world is so worried about this conflict. The conflict is not just about three countries. New alliances are changing the Middle East. In 2020, Israel made peace deals with some Arab states like the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. These are called the Abraham Accords. Many Arab leaders now worry more about Iran than about Israel. They share intelligence and even military plans. At the same time, Russia and China have become more involved. Russia supports Iran in Syria. China buys Iranian oil and wants to protect its trade routes. These big powers want to limit US influence in the region. Their involvement makes the situation even more complex and risky. The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway near Iran, is one of the world's most important oil routes. If fighting blocks this strait, global oil prices could skyrocket. Many countries would suffer, not just those in the Middle East. This is why the world pays close attention to every crisis in the Persian Gulf. Ordinary people in Iran and across the region suffer the most. War, sanctions, and political games mean lost jobs, higher prices, and fear for the future. Many hope for peace, but they feel powerless. The world is watching, hoping leaders will choose dialogue over disaster.